What's up guys, welcome back to another video. It's Alexi here. So in this video I wanted to talk about God and flirting with hell, when you pretend to love God. And this is like, do you want to love the truth or do you want to love sin? Because if you're like texting, let's say like a girl or a man, boy, woman, whatever you want to say, that's like a temptation for you, or you're texting somebody you should not really be texting, like old friends that have bad habits and that are not on your faith journey, and they're not believers like you, and they're completely like uncompatible with you. If you're texting those kind of people like regularly and talking to them, those kind of people are going to affect the way you feel, and they're going to bring negativity into your life, and that's not something God wants. And usually God prunes these people out of your life, and when you're being charged and pruned and God is shaping you, refining you, God moves these bad people and orchestrates them away from your life usually and replaces them with new people, or you're going to be in an isolation season where you're going to grow. Like I've been in an isolation season, you could say, for a while. For example, I got sort of my church that I attend. But anyway, it's important for you to realize when are you texting like people you shouldn't be, when are you engaging. Also, like flirting with hell doesn't mean just texting a temptation like a girl or a boy or a man, woman, whatever I'm gonna say. It also means things like, it could be related to family or friends, it could be related to maybe flirting in the sense of like in temptations in the real world. Maybe it's like eating too much, spending too much money, having fun, basically coveting in the flesh in many ways, and overindulging in things, and not, doing any work, being lazy, not doing your duties, like these kind of things, and not actually like growing your faith with God, not spending enough time with God, not spending enough time reading, not praying, things like these are also kind of things like where you're flirting with hell, because you're not spending enough time with God, you're also being lazy in your life, and you're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing, and you're still trying to keep up with the Joneses, and you're trying to keep up with the wicked trends of the world. And that's where basically flirting with hell, like you can do it in so many ways. You could even technically flirt with hell, like this is something we all struggle with, especially it's probably our like trials and tribulations when it comes to our mind mostly. Like you could say like that's the most important thing, even like outside of like external temptations or whatever, like seeing people, relationships and promiscuities and gluttony and whatever outside is. But even inside at our mind, we have emotions and feelings and things we have to also overcome, and to reach that state of pure bliss and peace with God, and ridding of us all of negativity. Then you have to also work on your mindset and realize when you're flirting with hell with your mindset, in the sense that like understand when you're feeling negative, and you have to overcome these feelings. And we all feel negative. I felt a little bit negative this morning, and I had to overcome that. Obviously I've been on this journey for a while, so it's easier for me to overcome any like circumstances because I'm so much more peaceful than I used to be, so it's much easier for me to overcome. But I also acknowledge very realistically when something happens in my mind, and when I notice like there's a pattern, and when I notice there's like problems, because it's very important to be open and honest about these things with yourself and with God, and ask for God for help with your dispositions and problems and mindset, because these things are something that need to be worked on and healed over time. It's not something that happens in a day, and it's something you need to gradually build through, and different experiences and circumstances and people and events that are orchestrated by God can help you, if you take advantage of the situation, in a sense, to grow up. God can help you grow up in your faith and in your basically mental health and everything else. And God can heal you and heal these problems from us. And it's so important to understand that you're not, when you're flirting with hell, instead of, you could say, let's just say loving the truth, instead of flirting but loving the truth. And you're kind of like, flirting could be understood as kind of like small like glimpses or touches, or kind of like just about to touch maybe, or just kind of like throwing a few dangles here and there, like maybe a few texts, maybe a little bit of indulgence. It's kind of like those kind of things, and where you're still like, oh, it's fine, I just indulge a little bit, okay, I'm just gonna send this crush a message, or I'm gonna approach that person that's not very good for me, and that's not ordained by God for me, and engaging these like activities like, you know, harassing the opposite sex, or, you know, like even like small things like, let's see, maybe like I would say even like scheming and lying and doing small lies, like even if it's not like big, like doing small lies maybe in your life that where you should know, where you know should be honest completely, and there's no sin in the lie. You're maybe throwing a small lie just to, you know, cover something up because you want to save face, for example. Like these are really small things that you might not think are big, you know, like, oh, it's not a big deal, you know, and it's not being completely honest, like in your church, for example, or whatever, you know, in your life circumstance you happen to find yourself in. But yeah, these are some of the things, like, I just want to say in this video, like, recognize these small things when you're doing these bad things and habits and like things you shouldn't be engaging in anymore when you're on a faith journey, and start to recognize these. It's not gonna happen in a day, but, you know, gradually. The big things are easy to recognize, but the smaller things are something to refine and really you need to work on with God. Thank you for watching. Want to watch the description, there is a description. And I hope this helps. Thank you.